The purpose of this video is to explain some key differences between the TI-84 Plus Silver Edition calculators and the DESMOS online calculator. So here are a couple facts about each. Both calculators perform the same operations in that they do graphing and statistics. The TI-84 Plus calculator is a standalone calculator. It's expensive, around a little over $100 each, and it includes a one-screen display. The DESMOS calculator is an online calculator. You may use it with any device. It's intuitive to use, and it includes a multi-screen display. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to take you through very quickly, it's not an instruction video, just to show you the differences between solving this type of problem. So this is a typical problem in Integrated Math 1 curriculum where students would have to graph this data, analyze it, look at it from the graph, and then find the line of best fit or a linear model for the data. So we have here TI-84 calculator, and then we also I have pulled up the DESMOS calculator. So for each of these, the first thing you want to do is you want to create this data or input the data in. So in the TI-84 calculator, the students would have to know to go to Stat, and then Edit, and then put this information in their list. For the DESMOS calculator, they would go to Stat and insert a table right there. I believe that the DESMOS calculator is more intuitive because it says right here, table, the students are looking at a table and they're creating a table here. So once the table is in, you'll notice on the TI-84 calculator, you have to scroll to see all the data values. So if you have a lot of data, it's kind of hard to manage. You can't see it at one time. This is a little bit better because you can see more of the data at one point in time. So the next thing I want to do, all right, is I want to look at this data because it says make a plot of the data. So with the TI-84 calculator, if you just go to graph, which is what students would do, you'll notice that the data doesn't show up. And the reason why is that the window is generally set to be like between -10 and 10, and these values are all kind of outside of that. So the students would have to kind of abstract that data and remember what their graph looks like here to make changes here. So they would have to abstract that to know that, well, my x values or x's go between 28 and 2004 are 0 and 104, which they have to remember they made that change in their table when they type that in. So 0, and we'll say 110. And then the y minimum would just be like our lowest value to our highest value. So it looks like it doesn't go, I always say 0, and then let's say 15. And once you do that and you hit graph, you should have an appropriate window to view it in. Now the issue you have here is that the students, when they set up their window, well, first of all, the X scale has to be changed. So let's just change this to like every, let's say 10. Okay, so it's not so much. And that they have to remember, well, gee, I have to go to my stat plot and I have to turn my plot on, right? Okay, and I have to put on a scatter plot. And that's a lot of steps you have to go to. You have to go to second, stat plot. It's a lot of different things the students have to remember kind of all at the same time. And then when they hit graph, then you'll see that their plots do show up. Now, if you're using the DESMOS calculator, which I have right here, you'll notice that, and I'm kind of going to bump this out just so everyone can see it. So you'll notice that as soon as you start typing in values, they start showing up. So if I were going to add another row here, let's say I was going to add another row at 10, 10, it shows up right away. Okay, and that's a bogus value, so I'm going to delete it. And it's very intuitive that way. You can drag and drop to see all the values. If you wanted to make this window a little more friendly, kind of like this window is here, you just go to your settings, your tool, and while you're looking at your table, you can change your settings. So while you're looking at your table in your calculator, you're changing it. So I can say, well, I'm looking at my table and I see the lowest value here is 28, and the highest value is 104. So my x's are going to go, we'll say 0. We'll do the same thing, 1 and 10. You could change this by 10s here. And it shows up right away, 10, 20, 30, 40, right? So the students realize, like, oh, that's exactly what I'm doing. And then this goes between 0 and then 15. Okay, and you'll notice that when that happens, you have a window that is more free. Now, notice you can also drag and drop, which is also really an excellent tool for students to use as well with this. So that's how you make your plot. That was the first part of our problem right here. Now the second part would be to find a linear model. So the TI-84 calculator, to do that, you have to know Well, I have to go back to where I say stat, and I want to calculate my linear model. So I go to stat calc, and then 4 would be linear regression. There's all these options here, okay? And it shows right up, and this is what we get. And I'm just going to drag and drop that right here. So we have it, and this would tell you that y equals your a value be negative 0.016 plus b. And then the DESMOS calculator, to do it on the DESMOS calculator, just kind of want to have both up at the same time. All right. Since we have our x1 and our y1 stored here, you just have to say I want to add a new equation. I'm going to use my y1. It's not equals, it's tilde, right? Tilde. mx1 plus b. Okay? And when you do that, what shows up here is the equation, right? And you'll notice that you end up with the same equation for both of them, all right? But I think this is a lot more intuitive because you say linear equation, the students just have to type it in without having to remember all the key press and the buttons they have to go to. So these are two things that I think make the DESMOS calculator more user-friendly to students. And it's why we chose to include this as part of our technology initiative.